head off. Kia ora, welcome to Neat and Not by the Sea. My name is Catherine and this is a Flosstube extra. I hope you're well. I hope you watched the video that my friend Fiona and I did maybe last month, maybe this month, I can't remember, I lose track of time. So we did the bunting project last year. This year we had a good time, and part of that was the idea of like trying to use techniques and things without having to do a massive project like a king size quilt. So that was really great. We had a really great time, and we decided to continue. And this year we're going to do a miniature quilt year-long project. So what we did over the last maybe 4 or 5 months, we were adding quilt ideas to a list, and we ended up with probably about 30 quilts that we were interested in making. And then Fiona did a number generator, a random number generator, and so we've now ended up with 12 quilts, 12 quilt ideas that we're going to do one a month. She has said that she would be interested in doing a video, so we're hoping to do a video every month, just like a tiny little 5-10 minute thing, just to talk about the quilts that we made. So we're excited about that. She might even do it in her own channel, who knows. So yeah. Right, practical questions. The practical questions is that this is a 12-month miniature quilt project. There are really no rules. We have a list of quilts. If you decide that you don't like one of them, or you don't have the materials, or you can't be bothered, or you started it and hated the process, you can change it and use a different thing. As far as size is concerned, I know that Fiona has got a dolly's cot that she bought in an op shop, and so she's going to make her quilts to fit that because it makes sense for her. I don't have a dolly's cot, so I've decided that this is a good size for my quilt because I'm going to hang it in my little house, and there's very little room left now. So I'm thinking that it was going to be 30 centimeters by 20 centimeters. So we hope that's going to be a good size. But you can choose your size. That works for me. That's going to give me enough space. So if I can do one, like if I use a traditional style, I can do it either in small blocks, if that's how they traditionally do it, or I could choose to do just one block that's quite large based on that. So I think that's going to work for me. Again, I work full time. Normally Fiona beats me to it. She's able to kind of find a few more like free gaps in her week. Don't stress if you don't finish it in a month. Just finish it when you can. There is going to be a hashtag, but of course I've forgotten it, so we'll post it at the bottom. I will also put a list, and there is one quilt that I don't have the resources at home. I don't have like a book with a photo that I can show you, so I will try and find a link to put there. Okay, I should say that the quilt books that I'm using, which I haven't said in Spanish, is the first one is Classic Quilts that I'm just using to show you. Classic Quilts from the American Museum in Britain. I went to this in Bath in 2016. It was a lovely museum. We had such a lovely time. I had such a lovely time. My kids humored me. I've also got this Tivaevae, Portraits of Cook Island Quilting. And I've also got the Quilter's Complete Guide. Okay, there are hundreds of quilting books. And there's also online, and there is Pinterest, and there is Instagram, and you'll be able to find inspiration. But I'm just giving you those 3 titles in case you want to look them up in your library. Okay, the first quilt for January is a classic. It's called a log cabin. So that's a basic block, so not that, but that. You start in the hearth, and then you work your way around. Once you've got your block, if you're going to do more than one block, there's loads of combinations that you can do based on different colors and positions, and it makes some really cool quilt designs. So that's the first one. That's pretty straightforward. Then we have Needleturn Applique. Now, Needleturn Applique is just doing applique. There's so many different styles of applique now that they've sort of invented. So The thing that I thought was really obvious to show you is this one here. This is based on a Baltimore quilt. But you can basically choose any applique style by using Needleturn. I should have said at the beginning, I am planning to make all my quilts by hand because that's my preferred method. It's only a mini quilt, so it's very quick. If you choose to do it by machine, that's also fine. We're not policing anything here. But I also think it'll be fun to like really get good at Needleturn applique. We'll see. Sometimes my curves are not very curvy, a bit more angular because I'm impatient. I might get better at it, who knows? So that's the Needleturn applique. The next one is the YoYos. Let me just see if I can find it. I do have... Now, in England, we would call those Suffolk puff, but I've written down YoYos as well because I do know that in America they talk to them, they describe them as YoYos. I think it's in this book. Yes. And that's what it is. So you start with a circle, you cut it out, and then you do a running stitch all around the edge, and then when you pull it, you make sure that you end up with this shape. So you kind of have to manipulate it a little bit to end up with a circle. And then you join the circles, and you can see how here they've used they've played with color to get different effects. Okay? I wouldn't have the patience really. I have no desire to have a king size, queen size bed yo-yo or Suffolk puff quilt. One of the things that appears a lot online now is you can buy little blocks of them, the vintage ones. I've never quite understood the Suffolk puff thing because you end up with gaps. So yeah, whatever. I think it'll be very cute as a little project. The next one is the pineapple block. Now I love a pineapple quilt, but it's quite a geometrical, mathematical feeling quilt to me, and it kind of, I've watched a couple of tutorials, and to be honest, they frighten me a little. I need to go and find a tutorial that I'm comfortable with. And so I don't think I would want to do a king-size quilt, but this one's quite good to see. So it's a log cabin variation that they've done. So they've done the centers in black, and you can really see the pineapple here. Sometimes the way that people have done the designs is really hard to figure out which is the pineapple, but this one's really clear. And again, a little bit like the log cabin, playing with positions and colors, you can get some really cool effects. So that one's that. I'll put this here. And then Indian block prints. Now, if you have already watched my other ones, you know that I went to India on holiday. And so because I was in India, I bought lots of Indian block prints. And so I want to use them. Now, I do know that you can buy like a little quilters pack, like, what are they called? Like a charm pack, or you probably don't want to be buying a fat quarter, that's a lot of fabric. But you could buy a charm pack, or there's even little ones of these sorts of fabrics. Lots of Etsy sellers sell them. There's some on eBay as well. But anyway, they're just so beautiful. But they're actually quite thin. I'm not sure about how well they would last on an actual full quilt. I don't know. But anyway, we decided to add the Indian block prints to it. If you can't get hold of Indian block print fabric, or you have no desire to use it, you make a choice. There might be a couple of dresses that you inherited, or that your mum gave you, or your children's, and so you can just choose to do a quilt with those. That's fine. The next one is the Baltimore quilt. Let's see if I can find the really big one, because they're just stunning. Like, they are a labor of love, all hand appliqued. I am quite impatient. I'm not sure I could have ever done a whole Baltimore quilt. Look at that beauty. But I really love the different arrangements of the flower vases and the flower things. I think that one's pretty cool. There's another one, this one, that's quite naive. Is it that one? Yes. I think it's quite naive. I love it. So you can choose what you want to do. They're called Baltimore Album quilts. They're just gorgeous. They tend to feature vases of flowers and cornucopia. Lots of leaves. Really lovely. Really super beautiful. And I can do a little one, I think. So that's that. Then we have hand-dyed fabric. Now, again, if you have watched me in the past, you know that I also enjoy natural dyeing. So I dye threads and fabrics and yarn. And I thought it would be fun to use them on a quilt. I have made one quilt. I made Isle of Man quilt with my hand-dyed fabrics. I've actually given it away now for a baby shower. But I've got loads of fabric left. Some of it is embroidery linen and some of it is clothing linen. But I thought it would be fun to use them. I have since been speaking to Kate, who's going to join, and I offered her some. And she said, oh no, I've got loads of indigo from some other project, indigo dyed fabric. And that made me very jealous. So I'm going to try and make some indigo dyed fabric for the event. If you have fabric or you can purchase hand dyed fabric, it doesn't have to be naturally, I mean, you choose. I just happen to like naturally dyeing. And that's what I have. So I'm using that. And I will try and do some indigo. The next one is the hexi quilts. So let's see if I can find, oh gosh, that's lovely. There are so many lovely quilts. Hexi quilts. I've talked about that one. Okay, there we go. There's a hexi. Look at that. That's called the grandmother's garden because it features flowers. So although everything is hexes, you play with the colors, so you get the flower effects, and then you've got the background, which is kind of cream. So that was one, but I also had another one that, because I've already done a couple of hexi quilts. I'm working on a really large one with embroidered vintage fabrics and other second-hand fabrics for the backgrounds. I don't think I can. I may have already taken some of these markings that I had. So I was trying to, I've filmed in Spanish first because I know me, I run out of steam and I really wanted to make sure I had it in Spanish, so I can't find it. That's okay. But there are lots of shapes. So the one I had showed in the Spanish one, you can watch the Spanish one if you like, was one where, although you're using hexes, you end up with this kind of diamond shape that you create. So, you know, it makes it a little bit different. The next one is Rarotonga style quilts. Now, Rarotonga is a group of islands relatively close to New Zealand, and we do have lots of people from there that live in New Zealand that are citizens. Let me describe it as a special relationship that we have with them. It's also called the Cook Islands, but we try not to use the Cook Islands name as much these days. They are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful quilts. I've been to a couple of workshops. So it's applique, but it's applique with an embroidery stitch, so that is a little bit more complex than what I would be used to. I would like to get that embroidery stitch down right. I do know that there's a couple of Cook Island Rarotongan churches around here, and maybe I can, everybody knows everyone in the end in Dunedin, so maybe I could find someone that could show me. Maybe there's a teacher that, you know, we could have a little class done. I don't know. But I'm very excited about the idea of finally doing one of these. They do different styles, but this is the style that I'm particularly interested in personally. This is another one. But they also do another one that's really famous, where they basically, you can end up with a quilt that has like 6,000 little squares. I just saw it and I missed it. The lovely thing about this book is that it talks about the makers as well as the quilts. Look, these are all done with little squares, so it's like a pixelated quilt. Absolutely stunning. But I fancy the other ones. And now that I'm looking at this, it's just gorgeous. So I don't know. Really taika. a tiger lily. So this one's called Tivaevae Taure. Tivaevae is quilt in the Rarotongan language, and these ones that I'm attracted to are called Tivaevae Manu. So that's that. Then we're doing a Hawaiian quilt. Now Hawaiian quilts are quite similar, I think, to the untrained eye, to Rarotongan quilts, so I want to make sure that it's quite clear that they're quite distinctive cultural traditions. Look at this stunner from Hawaii. Absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. So I'm quite excited about this. So that's that one. And then we finally have stars. So there are just hundreds of star quilts. So you can just Google that and see what you fancy, what's going to work for you. And the last one is Kawandi. So the Kawandi are an ethnic cultural group of Indians, black Indians that came to India, I think, from memory, having come across a couple of videos, maybe the 15th to 17th century to India, either through trade or as enslaved people. But they are quite a tight-knit group nowadays. There's been a couple of people that have discovered the work they do. I should link a couple of accounts that I follow. I'll try. Beautiful quilts. I mean, they're just artists. Amazing sense of color. And the quilt construction is really quite different. So I thought it would be fun to try to do that. So yeah. So just to recap, 12 quilts, 12 styles or prompts, no quilting police, no rules, hand-dyed, fabric, natural, like chemical dyes or natural dyes, you do you. You choose your size, you choose if it's machine or hand done. The idea is that these are just prompts to give us an opportunity to be creative, but to not overcommit ourselves to do a massive quilt, rather do a little quilt that we can just enjoy and finish in 1 month. Okay, well I hope you like it, and I'll try and remember to post all the bits and bobs that I have to post, and I hope you'll join us. Have a good end of the year. I hope you get lots of crafting, and looking forward to seeing you in the new year. Ka kite!